My name is Anna Parker, I'm 55 years old, and I've been married to David Parker for nearly 30 years. We live in a peaceful suburb of Portland, Oregon, where the sound of the wind rustling through pine trees fills the quiet evenings. Our children are grown now. Our son, Ethan, works in Seattle, and our daughter, Rachel, is a nurse in Chicago. These days, it's mostly just David and me at home, sharing tea in the mornings and quiet dinners at night. Our marriage has been steady, calm, familiar, and at times a little too predictable. David is an engineer by profession, methodical and calm. I'm a retired school teacher who spends most of her time gardening, painting, and volunteering at the local library. Life was simple and peaceful, until the day David invited his old college friend, Mark, to stay with us for a few days. It was a chilly Thursday morning when David mentioned it casually over breakfast. "Anna, you remember Mark Wilson, right? My friend from college. He's moving back to Portland for a new job. He's looking for a place to stay for a few days while he finds an apartment." I smiled politely. Of course, I remember Mark. The tall one with the loud laugh. David laughed. "That's him. I told him he could stay here for a bit, just until he finds a place. I hope that's okay." I hesitated for a moment. I liked having my quiet routines, my space. But David looked so genuinely happy that I couldn't say no. "Of course, that's fine," I replied. "It'll be nice to see him again." By Saturday afternoon, Mark arrived. He looked older, with streaks of gray in his hair and lines near his eyes, but his smile was as warm as I remembered. He carried a small duffel bag and a box of chocolates, which he handed to me with a grin. "Anna, you haven't changed a bit," he said cheerfully. I laughed. "You're being kind, Mark. Come in." That evening, we all sat together in the living room, reminiscing about their college days. They talked about the time they built a raft and tried to cross a lake, only to sink halfway. I laughed so hard my sides hurt. It felt good to hear David laugh like that again. It had been a while since I'd seen him so relaxed. The next few days went smoothly. Mark helped around the house, fixed a few things, and even joined me in the garden. He had a surprisingly gentle way with plants, carefully pruning and watering without needing to be told. He told stories of his travels, working in New York, living in Texas, and now coming back to Oregon for a fresh start. One evening, as the three of us had dinner, David got a work call and had to step away. Mark and I continued chatting about small things, the neighborhood, the flowers in bloom, and old books we both liked. "You know," he said, smiling softly, "it's rare to meet someone who still enjoys the quiet life. These days everyone's rushing." I nodded. Peace feels underrated, but once you've lived enough, you realize how precious it is. He smiled thoughtfully. "You sound like a teacher." I said, smiling. 30 years. Kids keep you young. By the time David came back, Mark had already offered to fix the old bookshelf in the study that had been loose for months. "Let me handle it tomorrow," he said. David was grateful. That night, I realized something unexpected. Mark's visit had brought a new energy to our home. David was talking more, smiling more. The air in our quiet house suddenly felt lighter. But as days turned into weeks, I began to notice subtle changes. Mark's presence, while comforting, was also stirring emotions I hadn't felt in a while, not romantic ones, but something deeper. A sense of nostalgia, a reminder of youth, laughter, and simpler times. One afternoon, as we sat on the porch drinking tea, Mark said quietly, "You and David have something rare. Most couples I know don't make it 30 years. I smiled. "We've had our ups and downs, but I suppose we learned to bend instead of break." He nodded. "That's beautiful. I guess that's what real love looks like." Later that evening, David joined us with an old photo album. We sat together flipping through the pictures, vacations, birthdays, our kids growing up. Mark chuckled seeing some of David's younger photos. "You two look like a movie couple," he said teasingly. David grinned. "We thought we were." I looked at David and saw the gentle spark in his eyes again. It made me realize how much I had missed that look. Mark's visit was reminding both of us of who we used to be, two people full of dreams and laughter. A few days later, Mark finally found an apartment nearby. On his last evening with us, we cooked dinner together, spaghetti, garlic bread, and a lemon pie I baked that morning. We sat late into the night, sharing stories and memories. Before leaving, Mark turned to us and said, "You two have something worth protecting. Don't let life make it ordinary." After he left, the house felt strangely quiet again. I missed the laughter, but more than that, I realized something important. Our marriage had been quietly coasting, not broken, but drifting. Mark's short visit had reminded us both of the importance of cherishing each day, of talking, of laughing, of remembering why we fell in love in the first place. That night, David and I sat together on the porch. The air was cool, the moonlight gentle. He held my hand and said softly, "You know, having Mark here made me realize how lucky I am. I don't say it enough." I smiled. "We both forget to say things sometimes." He nodded. "Then let's stop forgetting." And just like that, something shifted between us. From that day onward, David and I started doing little things again, taking morning walks, cooking together, visiting old friends. The spark that had dimmed over the years began to glow once more. Months passed, and Mark would sometimes visit for dinner. He became part of our small circle of friends, and every time he came by, the house filled with laughter again. But this time, David and I were stronger, closer, and more grateful. Looking back now, I realize that life sometimes brings people into your path not to change your story, but to remind you of what you already have. Mark's visit did exactly that. It reminded me that love doesn't fade with time, it just needs to be noticed again. So, at 55, I learned something new. Even the quietest lives can still hold new beginnings. And sometimes, the most unexpected guests can help you find your way back home, to your heart, your memories, and the love that never really left.